Maria Alvarez had been invisible for so long that she forgot what it felt like to be seen. In the Wells mansion, 5 floors of marble, chandeliers, and cold perfection, she moved like a silent shadow. Her job was simple: clean, obey, never question anything. That was life for a live-in housekeeper. If the Wells family noticed her at all, it was only when something wasn't where it belonged. Maria learned to breathe quietly. To exist without taking up space. To disappear. But tonight, she would be impossible to ignore. A storm rolled across Atlanta like an angry drumline. Wind rattled the terrace doors. Lightning flashed against the enormous windows of the sitting room, where Maria stood polishing crystal that cost more than her yearly salary. From upstairs, she heard raised voices. Mr. Ethan Wells and his wife, Vivian. Arguing. Again. Maria paused, listening. Not because she was nosy, no, she had learned that listening was sometimes the only form of self-defense she had. You signed the policy without telling me. Ethan snapped. It was to protect us. Vivian fired back. Your business deals are falling apart. We need a guarantee. A pause. A deadly one. Then Ethan spoke, lower. You aren't protecting me. You're protecting yourself. Vivian's heels clicked sharply, 1, 2, 3, and the study door slammed. Maria jumped, crystal shaking in her hand. One slip and her week's pay would vanish in shards across the carpet. She steadied herself, heart pounding. She had seen the new insurance documents in the home office while dusting last week, millions of dollars. Almost all of it payable to Vivian. She tried not to think about it. She tried not to think about anything. But it was getting harder. Later that night, after the storm calmed and the Wellses retreated to opposite ends of the house, Maria climbed the narrow attic stairs that led to her room. Room was generous, barely large enough for a twin bed and a small dresser. The walls smelled of cedar and old insulation. But it was hers. She shut the door quietly, exhaling. She missed California, the warmth of her mother's kitchen, cousins laughing, Spanish music drifting through open windows. But Atlanta had work. Atlanta paid. And she needed to send money home. Every month. No excuses. Maria lay down fully clothed, exhausted. Her back ached from scrubbing, lifting, ironing. Her body was a map of bruises and burns from a job that pretended not to be violent. It was the kind of pain that came from being too useful. Just as sleep finally reached for her. Her phone buzzed violently beneath her pillow. A message from an unknown number. Emergency. Ethan Wells, car accident. Atlanta General Hospital. Critical condition. Surgery now. Maria sat up so fast the bed springs squealed. Ethan? She covered her mouth with both hands. Despite everything, the class divide, the distance Ethan kept between them, he had always treated her with basic human respect. He said please. He said thank you. He remembered her birthday. He was a good man in a bad marriage. And now something terrible had happened. Maria's entire body moved before her mind could catch up. She grabbed her coat, keys, and rushed down the servant staircase, out into the wind. Atlanta General was a giant white monolith looming out of the storm clouds. Maria parked crookedly in the staff zone and sprinted inside. The hospital lights were too bright. Too clean. They made fear impossible to hide. My employer, Ethan Wells, accident, Maria gasped to the night shift receptionist. The nurse checked the monitor, then softened. Surgery. 4th floor. He's lucky, our best surgeon has him. Maria swallowed. His wife? Did she? Mrs. Wells arrived earlier, the nurse replied. She's with Dr. Vaughn now. Maria's stomach sank. Vivian was here already. And smiling, probably. 4th floor. The hallway was sterile white with a cold metallic scent that settled deep in Maria's lungs. Behind the steel doors of operating room 6, a bright red light. Surgery in progress. Maria pressed her hand against the cool metal, whispering a prayer through trembling lips. Ethan, please leave. A hand grabbed her shoulder. She gasped and turned. A young nurse in navy scrubs. Her badge read Kayla Brooks. You're the Wells housekeeper, right? Kayla's voice was urgent, almost panicked. You shouldn't be out here. Maria blinked. I need to know. Kayla cut her off, lowering her voice to a whisper. He's not supposed to die on the table. The plan needs him alive first. Maria's world tilted. What, she breathed. What plan? Kayla's eyes darted up and down the corridor, then she pulled Maria away toward a dark utility closet. Before Maria could resist, the nurse shoved her inside and shut the door behind them. Kayla leaned close, shaking. I shouldn't be saying this. But Dr. Vaughn isn't giving him surgery to save him, she whispered. Vivian paid him. Life insurance fraud. They need Ethan conscious to sign one last document. Tomorrow morning. That's when she swallowed hard. Finish the job. Maria's lips parted, but no sound came out. This isn't real. This can't be real. Kayla grabbed Maria's wrist. You must listen. Ethan is not in a car accident. He walked in through staff parking. They drugged him. They staged everything. And now? She froze. Footsteps. Voices. The soft whoosh of the operating room doors opening. Don't move, Kayla breathed, eyes wide. She cracked the closet door open 1 centimeter. And Maria saw something she would never forget. Dr. Vaughn exited first, removing gloves. No blood panic. Just casual. Vivian followed, dressed like she was attending a gala, not a surgery. Then. Ethan. He walked out. On his own. No stretcher. No tubes. No wounds. Healthy. Alive. Talking. Tomorrow morning, he signs, Vivian said, lips curled into a predator's smile. Then his heart stops unexpectedly. I collect everything. And we disappear. Mrs. Wells, Dr. Vaughn said lightly, you'll be a widow before lunchtime. Though perhaps a stylish one. They both laughed quietly. Maria's entire body turned to ice. Kayla closed the door silently. For a long time, neither woman breathed. Maria collapsed to her knees. Why are you helping me? She whispered. Kayla knelt too, urgency blazing in her eyes. Because the world needs someone who still cares whether a man lives or dies, she said. Dr. Vaughn has been murdering patients for years, always insured, always profitable. No one questions the rich dying peacefully under expert hands. Maria covered her mouth, fighting nausea. And you believe? I can stop them, she asked. Kayla nodded once. You're invisible in their eyes, she said. That's your power. A sudden knock on the closet door made both women flinch. Housekeeper, a familiar cold voice called out. Maria? Vivian Wells. Kayla stiffened. Vivian's shadow lingered under the door. It's all right to come out, Vivian sang. Don't be afraid. Ethan is asking for you. Kayla mouthed, say nothing. Do nothing. Vivian's heels tapped away. But her voice echoed. Maria, soon, you'll be more important to us than ever. Maria's pulse crashed against her ribs. Kayla turned to her, gripping her hands. You can't run. They will chase you. You saw too much, Maria whispered. And so did you, Kayla replied. That means we fight. Together. Maria swallowed the last of her fear. What do we do? Kayla's voice steadied, sharpened into command. You go to Ethan. You cry. You act clueless. You do whatever Vivian expects you to do. And when they ask you to help with paperwork or take something for Ethan, you stall. We need time to gather proof. Maria nodded slowly. Her tears dried into something new. Heat. Resolve. I'll save him, she whispered. No matter what it costs me. Kayla cracked the door again, checking. When the moment comes, I'll find you. And I'll be ready, Maria said. For the first time in years. She felt visible. She felt dangerous. She stepped back into the hallway. Toward the recovery room. Toward the man whose life now depended on the housekeeper no one ever noticed. Maria stepped back into the glaring hallway lights, wiping away the last trace of panic from her eyes. She took one deep breath, then she transformed. Her face twisted into worry, her steps slowed into a trembling shuffle. No one looking at her now would suspect she had just uncovered a murder plot. She was invisible again. She walked toward the recovery room, heart hammering in her chest. Every instinct in her body screamed, run. Run and never look back. But Maria couldn't. Ethan Wells had been her only source of respect in that house. He didn't deserve to die. Maria paused outside the door to recovery room 2. She could see Vivian inside, sitting gracefully in a velvet chair like she was waiting for a spa treatment rather than a victim to finish dying. Ethan lay on the bed, an oxygen cannula resting beneath his nose, his eyelids fluttering. He looked weak. Groggy. Sedated. But not dying. Not from an accident. When Vivian spotted Maria in the doorway, she stood up with a perfectly practiced, tragic expression. Oh, Maria, she breathed. Thank goodness you're here. Vivian spread her arms, as if she were welcoming a daughter home. Maria stepped in, keeping her gaze low, her posture submissive. Exactly what Vivian expected. He was in such agony, Vivian whispered dramatically, brushing Ethan's hair with staged affection. A drunk driver hit him. It's a miracle he survived. Maria forced tears, real ones. They weren't for Vivian. They were for what Ethan didn't know. Senor Ethan, Maria whispered, stepping toward the bed. Ethan opened his eyes slowly, turning his head toward her. His pupils were dilated. Confusion clouded them. Maria? His voice was raspy, like sandpaper dragged across wood. What happened? Vivian answered before Maria could speak. You're safe, darling. Dr. Vaughn saved you. But there's another complication. Maria held her breath. Vivian handed a clipboard to Ethan with rehearsed solemnity. The doctor found a blood clot, she said. Very dangerous. They need to treat it surgically first thing in the morning. She placed a pen in his shaking hand. And they need your consent. Maria's spine stiffened. They were accelerating the plan. Vivian leaned in, whispering like a temptress. Just sign, darling. Trust me. I love you so much. Maria stepped forward quickly, acting frantic. No, she burst out. Senor Ethan, please, no sign yet. You confused. You need time. Please. Vivian's eyes snapped toward her, sharp as needles. This is not your decision, she said coldly. Maria is scared, Ethan mumbled, head drifting back onto the pillow. She's just emotional, Vivian cooed dismissively. The staff here cares about you so much. Maria flinched at the word staff. Vivian leaned in closer to Ethan's ear. If you don't sign, you might not survive long enough for them to help you. Ethan's hand trembled above the paper. He was too drugged to understand the danger. Too weak to fight it. Maria had seconds to save him. She stepped closer, desperation leaking into her voice. Wait. His mama must know. Senora Wells, you call her first, please. It was a weak excuse. But it would buy time. Vivian exhaled sharply, rage flickering behind her perfect smile. Fine, she snapped. We'll give him a few minutes to rest. She snatched the pen from Ethan's limp fingers. We'll discuss this later, she said sweetly, brushing his cheek with the back of her hand. Her rings sparkled like the jaws of a trap. Vivian stepped outside to speak with Dr. Vaughn. Maria leaned close to Ethan's ear. You in danger, senor, she whispered quickly. You no sign anything. You trust me, please. Ethan blinked heavily. What? She squeezed his hand gently. I help you. I promise. His eyes drifted shut again. Maria looked around. No cameras pointed directly inside the recovery room, just at the hallway. Kayla must have planned it that way. Ethan's breathing steadied, but his vulnerability felt like a knife pressed against Maria's throat. If she failed him, she'd be the last person he ever saw. She placed his hand gently beneath the blanket and stepped outside. Kayla waited at the end of the hall, pretending to check a patient chart. Her eyes flicked toward Maria, now. Maria followed. They ducked into a medication storage room. Kayla shut the door and spun toward her. You did good, she whispered. But they'll try again. Vivian needs that signature before dawn. Maria's voice cracked. He weak, so weak. They make him sign and then kill him? Kayla nodded grimly. That's how Dr. Vaughn has done it before. Maria stumbled, covering her mouth. Dios mío. Kayla placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. You and we're going to expose them tonight. Maria stared. Exhausted. Terrified. But alive with purpose. Tell me what to do. Kayla inhaled deeply. We need proof. Real evidence. Video. Audio. Medical files. She lowered her voice further. There's a camera feed in a restricted server room 2 floors down. If we get the footage of Ethan walking in here, we destroy their entire alibi. Server room, alone? Maria whispered. Kayla's eyes glimmered with fierce courage. I'll create a diversion on this floor. You go down the service elevator at the end of the hall. She handed Maria a master key card. Find the server room. Plug this into the video recorder. She placed a small black USB drive in Maria's palm. It will automatically copy the last 6 hours of footage. That's all the proof we'll need. Maria shook her head frantically. No, I'm not smart with computers. They'll catch me. Kayla squeezed her hands tight. You're braver than you think. Maria bit her lip until it bled. She had never done anything risky in her life, never broken rules, never raised her voice. Yet tonight, she was plotting to expose a killer doctor and a murderous socialite. Her heart pounded so hard she thought her ribs would break. But she nodded. Okay. I do it. Kayla smiled, relief washing over her tense features. I'll start the distraction in 10 minutes. Be ready. She opened the door, then stopped. And Maria, she whispered. What? If anything goes wrong, run. Maria swallowed. No, she said softly. I stay. Kayla's smile turned proud. You're stronger than them. Then she was gone. The hallway was getting busier, nurses moving quickly with alarm in their steps, a code call sounding faintly from another floor. The chaos worked in Maria's favor. She reached the service elevator unnoticed. Her hands shook as she swiped the card. A soft beep. The door opened. She stepped inside, pressing B2, restricted level. The doors closed. Darkness swallowed her. Maria leaned her head against the cold steel walls. You can do this. For Ethan. For yourself. When the doors opened, the basement air hit her like a blast from a freezer. Water dripped from overhead pipes. The hum of machinery filled the silence. A flickering sign read. Server/archive/maintenance, this way. Maria followed narrow corridors lined with storage crates and old hospital beds. Every shadow looked like a threat. Every distant footstep sounded like an approaching monster. Finally, she found it. A heavy steel door labeled Surveillance, authorized personnel only. Maria's breath fogged in the cold air. Hands trembling, she swiped Kayla's card. Green light. Unlocked. Inside, rows of servers stacked like silent soldiers. Cooling fans buzzed constantly, steady, mechanical breathing. In the corner, she found the security system, multiple monitors displaying live feeds. Parking lot. ICU bay. Hospital lobby. Staff entrance. Her stomach twisted. On the staff entrance feed, hours earlier, Ethan was walking beside Vivian. Laughing. Upright. Healthy. No accident. Proof. Maria whispered a prayer and inserted the USB drive. A loading bar appeared. Copying data, do not remove. Seconds crawled like years. 10%. 17%. 22%. 35%. Hurry, Maria whispered. 45%. 60%. 67%. 80%. Her heart thudded painfully. She was doing it. She was actually doing it. 91%. 95%. 98%. 99%? A metallic click echoed from behind her. Maria froze. Footsteps. Approaching. Voices. Vivian. Dr. Vaughn. Her blood turned to ice. The female voice was sharp, furious. She is a housekeeper, Alistair, not a trained spy. She cannot have disappeared. I searched upstairs, Vaughn hissed. Check this floor. They knew. They were hunting her. The copying finished. Transfer complete. Maria ripped the USB free, shoving it deep into her coat pocket just as the doorknob rattled. She turned off the security screen and dropped flat between server racks. The door burst open. Vivian's heels clacked on the linoleum. Maria held her breath so hard her ribs screamed. Dr. Vaughn's voice dripped venom. She saw us. She heard us. That makes her a liability. Vivian scoffed. Then remove the problem. Before she ruins everything. Maria bit down on her knuckles to smother a whimper. Dr. Vaughn's footsteps drew closer to her hiding spot. She squeezed her eyes shut. Then. Beep. 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 Fire alarm. Upstairs. Kayla's distraction. Vivian cursed loudly. We need to get back to Ethan before she does. Their footsteps retreated. The door slammed shut. Maria collapsed against the floor, gasping silently. Kayla came through. She saved her. Maria waited 30 seconds, then crawled out, legs barely supporting her. No more time. She had to reach Kayla. And Ethan. She sprinted for the elevator. But a voice stopped her cold. Well. Vivian. Blocking the exit. Alone. Her smile was a blade. You just couldn't mind your business, could you, Maria? Maria stepped back against the cold wall. Vivian took a slow step forward, heels echoing like gunshots. You're good at many things, she purred. Laundry. Dusting. Pretending you're not staring at my husband. Maria shook her head. No. Vivian leaned close enough for Maria to smell her perfume, jasmine and poison. You really thought he cared about you, she whispered. You're a toy, sweetheart. A pet. Someone to fetch what we need until you become inconvenient. Vivian's nails grazed Maria's jaw, not affectionately, but like a hawk testing a rabbit before the kill. Unfortunately, that moment has arrived. She raised her hand. A glint of metal. A syringe. Filled with clear fluid. Maria's heart stopped. Vivian's voice softened to a chilling lullaby. It's painless. You'll fall asleep. And when they find you, my poor housekeeper, they'll think you fainted from stress. Vivian moved to strike. Maria lunged instinctively, shoving her with every ounce of terrified strength. Vivian slammed into the wall with a snarl, syringe clattering to the floor. Maria bolted down the hallway. Run. 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 Her lungs burned. Her feet barely touched the ground. She didn't look back. An emergency exit door appeared like a miracle. She slammed her shoulder into it. And burst into a stairwell. Up. 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 Her knees screamed, but she didn't stop. Bursting onto the 4th floor again, nurses rushed past her toward the alarm. Maria spotted Kayla near the supply room. Kayla's eyes widened. You did it? Maria pulled the USB from her pocket, trembling. Kayla exhaled in relief, then froze as a chilling voice echoed from behind them. Going somewhere, ladies? Dr. Vaughn. His silhouette filled the hallway. His smile was death. Maria gripped the USB so tight it dug into her palm. Vaughn stepped closer. You should have stayed invisible, Maria. He reached into his coat. Kayla grabbed a metal crash cart and swung. Run, she screamed. Maria sprinted toward Ethan's recovery room. She didn't think. She didn't feel. She only moved. For him. For justice. For herself. Maria sprinted down the hallway, breath ragged and lungs burning, the USB clenched so tightly in her fist it felt like it had fused into her skin. She could hear Dr. Vaughn behind her, heavy shoes slamming against linoleum, and the faint metallic clatter of something dangerous swinging in his hand. She didn't dare look back. She didn't have to. The weight of his presence crawled up her spine like cold steel. She reached Ethan's recovery room door and nearly skidded into it. Her hands shook violently as she grabbed the handle, then froze. Vivian stood inside. Not panicked. Not surprised. Waiting. Her gaze snapped to Maria like a rifle sight locking onto a target. "Oh, darling," she said with soft venom, "you never know when to quit." Maria stumbled backward. Her shoulder hit the wall. Her chest heaved. The world spun. Vivian stepped toward her, syringe in hand again, its needle reflecting the harsh white ceiling lights like a predator's fang. "Once you walk into a room you shouldn't," she whispered, "sometimes the door doesn't open again." Maria's gaze darted around. She had nowhere to run. Nurses were busy responding to the alarm Kayla triggered. The corridor was empty. It was just them and the ticking heartbeat of death. Suddenly, Ethan's voice cracked through the thick dread. "Stop." Vivian didn't turn, but her jaw tightened. Ethan was awake. Barely, weak, slurring, but awake. He raised his head off the pillow, breathing heavily. "Viv, what are you doing?" he mumbled, confusion twisting his pale face. Vivian turned then, mask snapping instantly into loving wife mode. "Sweetheart, you're awake," she crooned, adjusting the blanket like she was tucking in a child. "You must rest. You're very sick." Maria saw Ethan's fingers twitch under the covers. He was trying to reach her. His eyes, as glazed but aware, locked onto hers. Fear rippled across his face. He didn't know what exactly was happening, but he knew who he could trust. Maria. Just Maria. Maria took a step forward, and Dr. Vaughn launched at her from behind. She dropped to the floor with a yelp just in time for his arm to swipe through empty air. He growled, frustrated. Maria scrambled, kicked off the ground and slid under a bed in the hallway, metal scraping her back. She crawled to the far side of the neighboring room, heart trying to rip its way out of her chest. Vivian scoffed at Vaughn. "Really? She's a housekeeper, not a trained agent." "She moves fast," Vaughn snarled. "She moves scared," Vivian corrected. "There's a difference." Maria pressed into the shadows, covering her mouth with her sleeve to silence the heaving breaths. Her body shook uncontrollably. Think. 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 She needed to protect Ethan. She needed to deliver the proof. She needed to live. Her eyes flicked downward, the USB still in her fist. She couldn't lose it. Footsteps crept closer. Vivian again. Calm. Confident. "You have something that belongs to me," she said into the empty air. "And it would be easier for everyone if you just hand it over." Maria shut her eyes, gripping the USB tighter. Vivian's tone dropped into pure ice. "You're not saving Ethan. You're only delaying the inevitable." A pause. "And when he's gone, no one will care what happens to a maid from nowhere." The words stung, sharp and cruel, because they were what Maria feared most. She had spent years being the silent woman who cleaned up other people's lives while her own crumbled quietly in the background. Invisible. Disposable. Not anymore. Maria's fear hardened into something hot and unbreakable. Without warning, a loud metallic crash echoed behind Vivian. She spun, startled. A crash cart had been shoved to the floor, by Kayla. Kayla stood at the end of the hallway, fire in her eyes. "She's not alone," she snapped. Vivian's face contorted, mask finally cracking entirely. Dr. Vaughn charged at Kayla. Kayla swung a defibrillator paddle into his jaw with a sickening crack. He stumbled, grabbing his face, blood dripping between his fingers. Rage flooded his eyes. "You'll pay for that," he snarled. He lunged again, this time he was faster. Kayla wasn't. He grabbed her by the throat, slamming her against the wall. Kayla choked, kicking wildly, fingernails scraping against his wrist in desperation. "Maria," she gasped. "Run." But Maria wasn't running this time. She grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall and rushed forward. With every ounce of anger and terror and love for life in her body, she swung it into the back of Vaughn's skull. A hollow, brutal thud. Vaughn dropped Kayla and collapsed to his knees. Maria struck again. And again. And again. Until he lay flat, unmoving. Vivian screamed Maria's name like a curse splintering in the air. Maria stood there, chest rising and falling in the rhythm of war. Her hair wild, eyes wide, knuckles red. Not invisible anymore. Vivian held the syringe like a dagger, backing toward Ethan. "You took everything from me," she shrieked. "Do you know what it's like to build a life of power? To marry into greatness? To reach the top and realize you still have no control?" Maria marched forward, shaking but unbroken. "No one should die," she whispered. Vivian laughed, a sound cracked and endless. "He died the moment he married me," she spat. She lunged, syringe aimed for Maria's throat. Maria blocked her arm. They struggled, bodies slamming into furniture. The syringe jabbed the mattress, fluid spilling. Vivian hissed, nails raking across Maria's cheek, drawing thin lines of blood. Maria shoved Vivian off her, stumbling back. Vivian grabbed a glass vase and hurled it. It shattered near Maria's feet, shards slicing through her shoes. "You think he loves you?" Vivian snarled. "He paid you because you're cheap. Replaceable." Maria's breath trembled, but her voice didn't. "He respected me," she said. "And that is something you never earn." Then Ethan's voice, hoarse but strong. "Vivian, stop." Vivian turned slowly. He was sitting up now, struggling but determined. "I trusted you," he said, betrayal breaking every word. "I trusted you with my life." Vivian's face twitched, first shame, then pure fury. "If I can't have your life," she whispered, raising the jagged vase shard, "no one can." She charged toward his bed. Maria screamed. Kayla, coughing but conscious, hit the emergency code alarm button. And security burst through the doors. They tackled Vivian to the ground, ripping the shard from her grip. She thrashed like a wild animal, venom lacing every curse she spat. "You don't understand. He was supposed to die. It was supposed to be perfect. I deserve everything." Two guards cuffed her hands behind her back, her designer gown tangling like a fallen crown. Dr. Vaughn, semi-conscious on the floor, was restrained next, blood smeared across his face and the linoleum. The nightmare was finally pinned down. Maria's body slackened, adrenaline draining so fast she nearly fainted. Kayla caught her, holding her upright. "You did it," Kayla whispered, voice shaky. "You saved him." Maria looked at Ethan, really looked. He was alive. And for the first time tonight, she let herself breathe. Hours later, the chaos had dissolved into procedure. Police statements. Evidence. The USB that Maria had safeguarded like a lifeline was plugged into a detective's laptop. The footage played, Ethan arriving unharmed, Vivian beside him, Vaughn waiting. The betrayal was undeniable. Vivian's screams echoed from a distant room. Maria sat quietly beside Ethan's bed. Kayla leaned against the wall, arms crossed, exhaustion finally taking hold. Ethan stared at Maria, eyes clearer now. "You saved my life," he said softly. Maria lowered her gaze. "Anyone would do the same." "No," Ethan insisted firmly. "Not anyone." He reached for her hand. Gently. Respectfully. Just as he always had. "I'm sorry," he said. "For every time I didn't notice you struggling. For letting you be invisible in my own home." Maria blinked back tears. She wasn't used to being seen. Ethan squeezed her hand. "You deserve a better life than the one I gave you." Maria shook her head. "You gave me work. Dignity. You gave me a home." "No," he said. "You built your own dignity. And you kept me alive because of it." Silence sat heavy, but warm. "Will you stay?" he whispered. "Not as staff. But as someone I trust?" Maria smiled faintly. "Rest first. Tomorrow, we talk." His eyes softened. "Tomorrow." He drifted into sleep. Maria stood and stepped into the hallway. Kayla joined her, leaning on her shoulder for balance. "We make a good team," Kayla said. Maria laughed, small but real. "A very dangerous one." Kayla nudged her. "Try to get some rest, hero." Maria walked toward the elevator, slowly this time, exhaustion settling deep in her bones. The storm outside had passed. The early glow of dawn painted the windows in shades of hope. She pressed the elevator button. The doors opened. A quiet ride down. Each floor ticked by, carrying away the terror, the blood, the fear. Leaving only survival. When the doors opened at the ground floor, she stepped into the lobby, just another worker in scrubs and simple shoes. But everything had changed. A man at the reception smiled at her. "Long night?" Maria exhaled. "You don't know the half of it." He chuckled, unaware of the war that had just been fought upstairs. "Coffee's free for staff tonight." Maria nodded gratefully. Staff. That word didn't sting anymore. It felt like armor. She walked outside. The morning chill hugged her skin. The city stretched awake, unaware that evil had almost triumphed within its glowing towers. Maria tipped her head up at the lightning sky. Invisible no more. Not a servant. Not a shadow. A survivor. A protector. A woman worth seeing. And as the sun broke fully over Atlanta, warm, golden, alive, Maria Alvarez smiled. Because she finally understood. Some people live like ghosts. Others fight like warriors. She had become both. And she had won.